Okay. Present in the virtual courtroom, we have Mother, Ms. Poles. Trying to see if I thought maybe Mr. Talbert had rejoined us, but I don't see him. Yes, we have Mother, Ms. Poles. We have our attorney, Mr. Fagan. We have Father, Mr. Eggleston's attorney, Damian Nunzio. We have Father Richard Tolbert's attorney, Michael Adams, who is here substituting for Jessica Lowry. We have Father Mr. Tolbert's guardian ad litem, Julie Kineze. And we have the children's attorney, Jim Owens, and various agency workers and other concerned parties. All right, and we do have a Galaxy A10e that has joined us. No video, no audio. I think that may once again be Mr. Tolbert. Looks like he's trying to reconnect to audio and is still having issues. I'll just indicate for the record, we did, there we go. Mr. Tolbert, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, Mr. Tolbert is with us now. All right. Mr. Owens.
Thank you, Your Honor. For the record, I indicate that we are calling the children D1, D2, D3 based upon their ages, D1 being the oldest. And Your Honor, I would move for the admission of the exhibits that we discussed. I can put on the record today.
Yes, please.
Your Honor, okay. Number one would be the case service plan along with the parent agency agreement of the parties of July 15. Number two would be the foster care. Hang on, I mixed the notes. Support of visitation from Michaela Bowles, dates of 5/19, 5/23, and 6/4. That's number two. Number three would be the same organization for Mr. Talbert. Those dates being 5/6 and here's 5/19. Then the same foster care supported visitation, and this is number four now. For Wyatt Eggleston, dates 5/21, 5/23, all of this year, of course. 5/29, 6/5. Number five would be the forensic fluid test of Miss Poles, dated 4/4. These are report dates 4/15, 5/3, and 5/14. And Arbor Circle progress report covering the period of 4/23, 5/31, 2024. I'd move the admission of those documents.
Any objection?
No objection.
No objection.
All right, they're all admitted.
Thank you. I would call Bethany Roubos to the stand. And you are employed as the foster care worker assigned to this matter, is that correct?
That's correct.
And let's talk about the children today. As I said, D1. D1 is in a relative placement, the paternal grandparent, is that correct?
That's correct.
And as far as his health issues, I know he's been diagnosed with ADHD, is that correct?
That's correct.
And proper medication for that?
Yes, he is.
And he completed, I think he just turned a birthday last Friday, correct?
Correct.
I think he's 7 now.
Turned 7, yes.
Academically, is school behavior improved, is that correct, over the last year?
Yes, it has.
Okay. And what grade is he going into?
He will be going into 1st grade.
Okay. Any physical medical issues other than the ADHD?
He does have asthma, which is being medically managed. Other than that, he's in good health.
Okay. Is he in any type of therapy at this time?
He is currently enrolled in our enhanced foster care program to provide additional behavior support. We don't have him in any other type of therapy. The caregiver said that once he turned 7, he would be able to attend therapy at where they take the other children for therapy. So he should be starting the month of June, now that he's 7.
D2 and D3 with a fictive relative placement, is that correct?
Correct.
And I know that both of them had some strep throat and other issues over the last quarter, is that correct?
They did.
Any after effects of that?
None.
Any other medical issues with D2 or D3?
No other medical issues.
All right, D2, I know there were allegations that she was used. Has there been any follow-up on that? What's the status of that at this time?
I've heard nothing further from the Ottawa County Sheriff's Department.
Okay. And she's is she in therapy at this time?
She is. She is in therapy at Pine Rest Lakeshore.
Okay. And what issues are they addressing with her there?
She has a lot of anxiety related to the case, separation anxiety. She's been having a lot of distress kind of before and after visits.
Let's talk about D3. She is still an infant, and is she developing according to her schedule?
She is.
Any other issues other than the strep throat, et cetera?
Nothing of note.
Okay, let's talk about the parents. We have an unknown father of D3. Has anybody come forth, or has the mother indicated any other potential fathers, biological fathers?
She is not.
All right. And as far as the mother is concerned, let's go through her treatment plan. She is currently unemployed, is that correct?
That's correct.
Why is she not employed?
Miss Poles hasn't worked in some time. I know that she is applying for disability currently.
What's her basis for applying for disability?
Her mental health issues.
And what are those mental health issues?
She has depression, anxiety, and she's been diagnosed with a substance use disorder.
Okay, now was she not supposed to take a psychological evaluation as part of her treatment plan?
That's correct.
Did she do so?
She did not.
And what was her reason for not doing so?
She said it was her anxiety kept her from being able to go.
And has that been rescheduled? What's the status of that?
We can't reschedule with the same agency. So we need to find a different place to do this psychological evaluation.
Well, she apparently said she has been diagnosed with something. Do we have a copy of that diagnosis? I mean, she's applying for SSI.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any documentation to support that mental health?
I don't have any hard documentation on any of that.
Okay. So how's she getting by? I mean, how's she paying rent, food, etc.?
So currently she is participating in a domestic abuse survivors program through YWCA. It is a rehoming program, so they are paying for her apartment and utilities while she gets herself established independently.
Domestic abuse program, why does she need that? I mean, who abused her and when?
She claims that she was trafficked in the past and got out of that situation with nowhere to stay and no means to support herself or her children.
Is she currently in a relationship with anybody?
Not that she's reported to the agency.
Okay. Have you heard from other sources that she might be in a relationship with somebody?
I've heard possibilities of that, yes.
Have you talked to her about that?
I have.
And the concern, and there are some concerns about that potential other person, is that correct?
Correct.
All right. As far as the drug issue, she missed multiple drug tests in the last several weeks. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Prior to that, she's been testing clean except for THC on one occasion. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So when's her last drug test?
Let's see here. I have one collected. Let me pull that up. No, I just have noted the ones from the reporting period. We do have her testing weekly. Okay, yeah, she did. The last drop she did was on the 6th of June.
Do we have the results back?
The results have not come back yet. The previous was collected on the 30th of May, and that one results are negative.
But she missed all of April, is that correct?
She did miss several in April, yes.
What about May? Did she also miss all the ones in May?
She did not.
Which one did she make in May, other than the 30th of May?
I have the May 9, May 17, May 23rd, and May 30.
And what were the results of the test in May?
The 9th was negative. The 17th and 23rd were positive for THC, and the 30th was negative.
Yeah. And this is being addressed by what, Arbor Circle?
Correct.
Okay. And how's that going for her at this time?
That is going well. I did speak with her therapist. They're working on the current goals are working towards reunification, staying sober, and self-improvement. She has attended consistently. She is also seeing a substance abuse recovery coach through there. And her therapist says that she is being open and honest in sessions.
Now, her housing situation, I think in the report mentions that she has a 2-bedroom apartment. Is that correct?
Correct.
And is that, I mean, we have 3 children here, 1 male, 2 females. And but your reports indicated that was appropriate.
Correct.
Well, why wouldn't it be wise to have a male in 1 room and the females in 2 other rooms, and her in a separate room?
When the agency is evaluating parental homes, the guidelines are a bit different than if we were evaluating a licensed foster home.
Okay. Well, I guess my question is, I mean, we have allegations that D2 was actually abused, and of course we have a history here in this family with the father, Wyatt. Should they be, a male and a female, be in the same room?
Ideally not.
Okay. All right. Now, does Ms. Poles understand that if she missed a drug test, it's a positive?
Correct.
Right. Okay. Is there anything else on treatment plan that she's not doing or that she's doing? Let's talk about visitation first. She attend parenting time?
Yes, she does attend.
And those go well?
Those go well, yes.
One of the issues, I guess, that I was told about was that the D2 was indicating that her mother was telling her that the foster parent was the reason that she was removed from the mother's care. Are you aware of that?
Yes, I did hear that.
Okay, and I guess my concern is these are supervised parenting time, is that correct?
That's correct.
But it's not 100% supervised, is that also correct?
Usually they're supervised from a separate room over a camera.
Yes. But there are times when she takes the child to the restroom that she's totally alone with the child, is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, have you addressed that issue with Ms. Poles at this time?
I've not spoken with her in person about that yet.
Well, is she taking responsibility for the fact that these children are in foster care as a result of her failures?
She has been contrite with me in the past and has acknowledged that it has been her fault.
All right, let's go, I guess, to Mr. Talbot. Mr. Talbot has a other child that is in the system with foster care, is that correct?
That's correct.
And does he have care, does he have that child in his care at this time?
That child is not in his care.
Now, did he successfully complete that parenting treatment plan in that other case?
Not at this time.
Is that's still an ongoing case, I take it?
Correct.
All right. He is also on an SSI for mental health issues,
Correct.
and he still resides with his mother. Is that also correct?
Yes.
And his mother, that paternal grandmother had a CPS history. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, as far as Mr. Talbot, he is admitted to smoking marijuana, but no other drug. Do you test for any other drugs? For any drugs at all?
No.
And I know his diagnosis is, and he's on medication for that diagnosis. Have you been able to determine whether or not the THC has a negative effect on his other medicine that he's prescribed?
It doesn't have positive interactions. Most THC interactions with those medications result in sleepiness, drowsiness, and loss of focus.
Now, he has a very extensive family support group. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And he resides with his mother. Anybody else in that home at this time?
Not at this time.
Now, he also participates in parenting time with his child. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And how's that going?
Those go fine.
Who else? Is she the only one there at that time, or is his mother there, or are other people present?
He will from time to time call others and do like video calls like with his mother or with his sister during the visits.
Let's talk about Mr. Eggleston. He's currently on probation yet?
Correct.
And have you talked to his probation officer?
I have spoken with his probation officer.
And what's his probation officer report?
He is participating in a youth sex offender program. He has been doing well. He attends a group and individual therapy at Berg Heights Psychological.
And you know how long he's going to be on probation? I know it's probably not a real fair question, but
that I don't have an answer for.
all right. I don't know why I asked it that, because I suspected that would be the answer. He's employed, is that correct?
That's correct.
And he has a girlfriend, is that also correct?
That's correct.
They live together?
They do.
Is she participating in a treatment plan?
She is not currently.
Okay, is there a reason why she is not?
She has chosen not to participate.
Have you run a background check on her?
We have.
Anything of interest?
Nothing of interest.
Okay. Now, Mr. Eggleston, I think, has also been, well, I think you said he's suspected of having ADHD, but has that been diagnosed?
Not to my knowledge.
Other than he visits with this child, is that correct?
Correct.
And how's that going?
Those visits have been going well.
And I understand that these are supervised visits?
Correct.
Right. And any concerns about him other than his continuing his probation?
No concerns.
And he's cooperative with you and that's correct.
Yes, that's correct.
What are your recommendations today?
So the agency respectfully recommends that D1, D2, and D3 continue as temporary court wards under the care and supervision of DHHS and Samaritas. That D1, D2, and D3 remain in their current placements with licensed foster parents or approved caregivers. That Michaela Pohl's parenting time continues to be supervised. That Richard Tolbert's parenting time continues to be supervised. That Wyatt Eggleston's parenting time continues to be supervised. That Michaela Pohl's, Richard Tolbert, and Wyatt Eggleston comply with and benefit from their PATPs and recommended services. That the permanency goal remain reunification, and that this matter be reviewed in 90 days.
Is there anything that I probably glossed over or else or maybe forgot to ask that needs to be addressed by the court?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Fagan.
Thank you, Your Honor. My client has asked me whether it would be possible to have community visits or unsupervised visits, and I just want to explore that a little bit with you. Is it fair to say there are some concerns about what she is saying while her visitation is being supervised?
That's correct.
Okay. Have you spoken with my client concerning these statements or things that she's raising with the kids?
I did want to speak with her. We had a meeting set up for yesterday, and she canceled that meeting. I was going to speak with her at that time.
Okay. It would be possible for her not to say inappropriate things, correct?
Correct.
And if you saw that, you would be, I would guess, more inclined to allow community visits and unsupervised visits, right?
Correct.
Are you quite clear that she's saying these things? Are these the negative things about the foster family? You're quite clear this is occurring, right?
Correct.
Okay. It's recorded or observed by others?
It has been reported by the children.
Okay. All right. So definitely an issue that needs to be addressed right soon, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Now, my client has a mother who I believe has no CPS history, correct?
Correct.
Is she able to see the kids?
She is.
Okay. It's got to be supervised at the agency?
Correct.
Okay. Has she taken advantage of that opportunity? Do you know?
I know last week I was notified that she was going to come to a visit.
Okay. But she's not been doing a lot so
Correct.
far. It would presumably be good for the children if they saw their grandmother, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you would agree with facilitating that, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, there's been some discussion, I think, about whether mom's got ADHD or not. Do you have any medical verification of that diagnosis?
I do not.
All right. That's something you need, I would guess, right?
Correct.
Has my client declined to give it to you, or what's the status of you verifying ADHD?
I am unaware of a written or diagnosis of her ADHD at this time.
So you would need to see that, correct?
I would like to see that, yes.
Okay, you've asked her for it?
I have not yet been able to request that. I know
All
she
right,
is.
we're all here now. It sounds like you're requesting that. Is that
I
fair?
am requesting that at this time, yes.
Good. Okay, yeah, let's take advantage of the fact that we're all on the same virtual space. I understand she has applied for disability. You don't know the status of that, other than the application's been made, right?
Correct.
Okay. And her housing, which is through the YWCA, I guess, is an ongoing thing. I mean, her housing is stable because of this, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and she's otherwise able to take care of herself with the housing and other assistance she receives, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, there was some comment about her not having done a psychological evaluation. I am guessing that you're going to tell me that it's necessary that she do that so that you can provide as best as possible any additional services that she might need, right?
That's correct.
Have you discussed that with her?
Yes, we have.
Okay. I understood there was some anxiety and some reasons why she didn't do it, but that almost is begs the question. We need to have the psych done so that we can see where the anxiety is, right?
Correct.
Okay. Do you think you're going to be able to find somebody else to do a psychological evaluation soon?
I am certainly hoping so. We're
Okay.
looking for that.
And you're hoping mom will go along with you and get there.
Yes, absolutely.
You'll assist her if you can, correct?
I certainly will.
Okay. So at this point, it does appear until that we're confident that the communications between mom and the kids is appropriate, you want supervision to continue for these visits, right?
Correct.
How soon, if she is more careful and circumspect in her speech, how soon could she have either community or unsupervised visits if all went well?
All's going well. I'd certainly like to review that matter at our next court date in 90 days.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nunzio.
Thank you. I just have a few questions. You had indicated that, good morning, and you had indicated that Wyatt's girlfriend has not participated in any of the treatment programs. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is the agency requiring that of her, or is it recommending that of her?
It's recommended.
Okay. And do you anticipate that if she doesn't cooperate or she doesn't do the treatment program, do you anticipate that being a roadblock for any success reunification that Wyatt may have with this matter?
That could definitely affect long-term placement.
Okay. Has that been expressed to her for purposes of what we're just talking about right now?
That has been spoken about with Mr. Eccleston.
Okay. So is it not too late for her to start if someone were to talk to her and say it'd be good for Wyatt and her to do the treatment plan as recommended?
Yes, we can get her involved.
Okay. Maybe she doesn't understand this, and the seriousness of what's going on here, and maybe if someone's just given an option, they opt out not to do something. But have you talked to her personally, Wyatt's girlfriend, or not?
I have spoken with her one time.
Okay. And how long ago was that, if I may?
That would have been I want to say in January or February.
Okay. And did you talk to her about participating in a treatment program as recommended
I did.
at that time?
I did.
Okay. I'm sorry, you said you did. Okay.
I did.
Okay. So for purposes of long-term placement, you're recommending that she participate, correct?
I do, yes.
Okay. And does she know the parameters of what she would have to do in the treatment program? In other words, what did you ask of her for purposes of being involved in a treatment program? Did you give her any specifics or what?
We didn't come up with a specific treatment plan for her at this time. Definitely would refer her for a psychological assessment and would recommend mental health treatment based on those recommendations.
This is a Wyatt's girlfriend, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you're recommending that she take a psychological assessment for purposes of engaging in a treatment program?
Correct.
Okay, and the purpose of a psychological would be what?
It's to assess a client's mental health state, to diagnose any outstanding mental health issues, to glean information that can assist the agency in making the proper referrals.
Are you aware that she has any mental health problems right now or issues?
I am not aware of any currently.
Okay. Can she participate in treatment programs without having a mental health evaluation for purposes of referral?
She can participate.
Okay. So I'm just thinking of ways that it would make it easier for her, appropriately so, that why are we assessing people for mental health issues if we haven't identified those as problems? That's my concern. Would you agree with that?
There can sometimes be issues that we're unaware of.
And that's fair, and I understand that. So, but in terms of Wyatt's participation in treatment so far, I think Mr. Owens covered it rather well. That Wyatt's doing very well, correct?
Correct.
And his mother is participating as well, correct?
Correct.
And she's doing well in the foster care program, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and how would you describe her success, Wyatt's mother, with respect to what she's doing and how she's facilitating the success that we're talking about?
No, I think that she's doing very well. She's been supervising Mr. Eggleston's visits with D1.
Okay.
She has been getting him to and from school, which he's been doing. He finished the school year very on a high note.
Okay.
She's been cooperating with the agency. We have good open communication. So I think that placement is going quite well.
Great. Thank you very much for your testimony. I appreciate it. No more questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Adams.
Yes, thank you, and good morning again, Your Honor. Your Honor, before I begin my examination, I would move for the admission of 2 additional exhibits, both from the Community Mental Health of Ottawa County. One, a letter dated May 14th of 2024, signed by Keith Morley, and the second being a letter from Dr. David Franzblau, dated May 30th of 2024. And if those could be admitted together as the, I believe it would be Exhibit 6.
Any objection?
I have no objection, Your Honor.
No objection.
All right. Those are admitted.
No objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Roubos, as you're aware, I'm covering for Ms. Lowry today and representing Mr. Tolbert. You also cover the case involving Mr. Tolbert's other child, Choice.
Correct.
Is that true? And right now, are his visits being conducted together with both children?
They are not currently.
Okay, is that going to happen soon? I know that that's something that both he and Miss Lowry requested.
Yeah, that the GAL in the other case has not authorized that at this time.
Have you spoken with the other GAL about that yet?
I have.
Okay. Now the court, I'm sorry, Mr. The GAL for the children, Mr. Owens has asked you a question about marijuana use and Mr. Tolbert. And certainly marijuana is legal now, so a lot of people are using it. And Mr. Tolbert admits that he uses marijuana. Is that true?
True.
You made a statement in response to a question by Mr. Owens regarding the I guess the combination of psychotropic medication that he's prescribed, Mr. Tolbert's prescribed, and how that might interact with marijuana. And
Yes.
your statement was that it had I might be paraphrasing, a negative effect on him or makes him sleepy or something?
It definitely, those interactions can cause a sedative effect.
Okay, and you're making that statement based on what? You're not a medical doctor, of course, but what are you making
Correct.
what are you making that statement based on?
Just my own research into the matter.
Okay, but you don't know that he uses marijuana in combination with his psychotropic medication, do you?
Um,
In other words, you don't know that he smokes marijuana and takes some pills that he's prescribed.
I believe it's medications that he takes via injection.
Okay.
So I do believe that those are in his system all the time.
Okay. But you haven't spoken with his medical doctor about how those might interact with his marijuana use?
I have not been able to get in contact with his medical doctor.
Okay. And certainly if he is using marijuana, you would want him to use that safely if he's going to use and still have contact with D2.
Correct.
Okay. And he could accomplish using that safely by keeping it locked up when D2 was in his care and not using marijuana when he's going to interact with D2. Would that be a accurate statement?
That'd be a fair statement.
Okay. Now, Ms. Lowry also wanted me to ask about some additional visit times with D2 and Mr. Tolbert. And she indicates that Mr. Tolbert has a sister that has been approved as a potential supportive visitation partner. Is that true?
Correct.
Okay. And is that a possibility that we could look into over the next reporting period?
I'm sorry, Mr. Adams. Something happened to my internet. Everything froze. So if you could go back and ask that question and I could hear the answer again, I'd appreciate it.
Okay. Can you hear me now, Judge?
Yeah, yes. It seems to be fine now, but it completely froze and I didn't hear the question and I only heard the tail end of the answer.
Okay, thank you. I hope I'm on the right question. It referred to Ms. Roubos. I was talking about supportive visitation with a sister of Mr. Tolbert. And had that sister been assessed and approved for potential supportive visitations with Mr. Tolbert and D2?
Yes.
Okay. And moving forward, is there potential that that sister could provide additional visit times with Mr. Tolbert and D2?
There certainly is that potential.
Okay, thank you. At this point in time, how many visits has Mr. Tolbert been offered with D2?
He is offered 2 visits per week.
Okay, has he been attending on a regular basis?
He has been.
Okay. And does he show a bond with D2?
He does.
Okay, and he's appropriate and is participating with his supportive visitation coach and that sort of thing?
Correct.
Okay. Are you satisfied with his cooperation in this case at this point in time?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your testimony. I appreciate that. And one final point I want to make is you are aware that Mr. Tolbert does have a GAL and Ms. Canizay, true?
True.
And if he has issues that he's having with his understanding his case service plan or additional services that you might be asking him to take part in, you'll discuss that and make sure that he understands that with his GAL?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Roubos. No further questions, John.
Thank you. Mr. Owens, any follow-up?
Yeah, on the issue of the Wyatt's girlfriend, does she participate in the visits with Wyatt and his father, or she his father?
She does not.
And why is that?
I haven't gotten a reason for that.
Well, let me go, as my understanding, this is a long-term relationship, and I think they intend to continue that relationship. The Wyatt and his girlfriend, is that correct?
Correct.
And D1 does have some parenting, or some not parenting issues, but some issues that make him more difficult to parent than a normal child.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. And does this girlfriend have any other children that she's experienced with as a parent? Do you know?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. And regardless of whether or not, there's a psychological evaluation, do you think it might be wise to allow her to participate? I mean, if we're looking at reunification, and I don't know where this case is going to end up, I'll be honest, but if, D1 ends up with a father and he has a living girlfriend or married or whatever, it might be a wise idea to get the two to bond together, get used to each other.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All right. That's all I got on that, Your Honor. Nothing further. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Fagan, any follow-up?
Nothing additional. Thank you.
Mr. Nunzio, any follow-up?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Adams?
Nothing further. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Owens, any additional witnesses?
I have no additional witnesses, Your Honor.
Mr. Fagan, any witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Nunzio, any witnesses?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Adams, same question?
Likewise, Your Honor.
All right. Statements. Mr. Owens.
Thank you, and I had the opportunity to see D2 and D3. I've been unable to connect with D1's foster parent. I made a couple of attempts, and I will make some more additional attempts afterwards, of course. But there are some issues here, but they're being addressed. And I think the children are doing well in their current placements. As I said, I raised some of these issues in my examination of the witness, which I think they need to be addressed. I am concerned that we had a whole month of missing drug tests, considering this case came in. Well, this case came in for two reasons. Initially, D1 came in by himself, and then we found out, much to my surprise, about the problems with D2 and D3. We were about to discharge this whole case when it came to light that there was an open CPS investigation concerning Ms. Pauls. So I'm really concerned about missed drug tests because either she's very good at fooling the ongoing worker in CPS, or the CPS worker was incompetent and didn't catch it. That was way back, I think, when, like I said, several months ago. So I'm a little concerned about missing drug tests because I think it's important that we have she has a history here of substance use. I'm also concerned about the concern that there might be a boyfriend out there. I have to admit, that's hearsay. I don't have any great proof of it. But that does concern me because the individual she was associated with, according to the petition, her petition, was not someone we want to be around children. So I'm concerned about that. But I do think the recommendations are appropriate. I think I'm impressed that the parenting time goes so well with all the respective parents. Progress is being made, and I'd ask the court to continue this matter and set this matter. And I think the children were removed in November 22, 23. And if I'm doing my math right, that would take us up to September. I don't know if the court wanted to do a PPH. It's premature, I guess, time-wise. And not that I would expect any changes because we do have relative placements. But I think that the next hearing might be a PPH just for the convenience of the court, unless the court wants to schedule one on a short-term basis in November. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fagan.
Thank you. While of course it is troubling if my client misses tests, it is worth remembering that in the month of May 9, May 17, and May 23, she tested, and other than THC, she was clean of the drugs that have been a problem for her. But obviously, I know my client knows she needs to comply with testing, and it's right that she be encouraged to do so. Obviously, there is some ongoing education, which she seems to be up for. And I agree with Mr. Owens that good visits are a good thing, and that's what we're getting. So I hope that my client is able to get a couple more things under her belt, particularly the psychological evaluation and a conversation with the worker to make sure that the communications with her and the children are appropriate. But with that in mind, I think that the recommendations are appropriate, and I look forward to another good period even better period where the things standing in the way of unsupervised visits and community visits can be cleared away. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nunzio.
Thank you, Your Honor. We believe that the recommendations are appropriate, certainly in light of Ms. Roubos's testimony, which seems to be very thorough, clear, and concise as it relates to Wyatt Eggleston. I think readdressing the issue with Wyatt's girlfriend may have some positive effect, and I think stressing the importance to her with respect to participating in treatment, I think will be helpful. Certainly with the follow-up by Mr. Owens, that if she's going to maintain this long-term relationship, that it would be beneficial for Wyatt, and especially in the long term with respect to placement. Everything's going well with Wyatt, his mother, and we're hopeful that this continues. And again, we believe that the recommendations are appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Adams.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. On behalf of Ms. Lowry, I believe the recommendations are appropriate. I want to commend Mr. Tolbert for stepping up and taking part in his case service plan. I know that he's receiving mental health treatment through Ottawa County, and that's important that he received that so he can get his life in order and be able to parent this child effectively. I do think that additional visits would be helpful if that can be arranged between Mr. Tolbert's sister and the agency so that she can supervise some visits and he can keep that relationship with D2 constant. Otherwise, I do believe that the recommendations are appropriate, and I'd ask that the court adopt them. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kennedy.
Thank you, Honor. I can state that I know Ms. Lowry has had many contacts with Mr. Tolbert. She has advocated for him at FTMs for specific needs, and including transportation assistance from the agency. And it sounds like that's been a real benefit to him. He's been able to communicate with her regarding the CMH documents that were provided today. So I strongly support her continued advocacy of him. I'm glad Mr. Adams was here today and was able to do the same. And I also believe the recommendations are in his best interest.
Thank you. All right. The court finds that the lawyer guardian ad litem has complied with the requirements of the statute, provided that the court receives confirmation from Mr. Owens that he has fulfilled his obligation with regard to Mr. Owens. Which one was it that you weren't able to see?
D1.
D1. Okay. That returning any of the children to a parent today would cause a substantial risk of harm to the children's life, physical health, or mental well-being. That reasonable efforts have been made to preserve and reunify the family, make it possible for these children to return home. Those reasonable efforts for reunification should be continued. In accordance with the statute, progress towards alleviating or mitigating the conditions that cause the children to be placed or remain in temporary foster care has not been made by any of the parents. It doesn't mean that no progress has been made. It simply means that insufficient progress has been made for me to return the children home today. That each of the children's continued placement is necessary and appropriate as meeting each of their individual needs. That the needs of each of the children can be met in a foster family home. That the siblings are not in joint placement because there is no one person willing and able to take all three children or placement of all three children. That sibling contact is occurring according to law. The court orders that the children be continued in the protective and temporary custody of the court, continuing their placement with the Department for Care and Supervision. That the adjudicated respondents, Ms. Poles, Mr. Eggleston, and Mr. Tolbert, comply with and benefit from the case service plan. In addition, Ms. Pauls shall submit to a psychological evaluation. I understand anxiety, Ms. Pauls, but I'm sure that Mr. Roubos will provide support for you if you need that, or a support person to go with you to help you with that. But that is step one, and you've got to get past that to make any progress here, right? That parenting time of Ms. Pauls is at the discretion of the agency to allow supervised or unsupervised parenting time by its designee. Same thing with Mr. Eggleston and Mr. Tolbert. Continue the attorneys in this matter. And Ms. Gibson, do we have a date for a review hearing? We can just make a shortened PPH date after that review hearing. I don't want to set one at this point.
Yes, Your Honor, September 4th at 9 a.m.
So again, just so everybody understands, our next hearing after that, if the children are still in foster care, will be less than 3 months because of the requirement that we hold a permanency planning hearing within 12 months of removal.